What are the different permissions available for continuous feedback? I have already navigated to the roles and permissions tab under company directory. Mind you, the logged in user has the permission to manage company directory, and that is why I have the ability to access this roles and permissions tab. In here, you will be able to see all of the permissions against each one of the roles that are available in your instance. Out of them, navigate to the feedback one and expand it. That will reveal all of the granular permissions that are available against continuous feedback feature in UpRaise. Let's look at these one by one. Under the generic category, you've got show feedback menu and the feedback settings administration. The first one, as the title suggests, it ensures whether a given user with a specific role has access to continuous feedback feature within the UpRaise app. Now, what might happen if you set up these permissions incorrectly is you might allow, let's say, an individual to give feedback to any other user or to receive feedback. However, you might block their access from this show feedback menu. So ensure that you're utilizing this permission in alignment with what you have set up for the other permissions. The only thing that this permission does is it hides the continuous feedback menu, this one. So let me expand it. This one right here from appearing in the navigation for the given user. Now let's understand what options are available. I'm able to edit the permission to yes or no. There are no additional options, only yes and no. Moving on, then you've got feedback settings and administration. So in one of the previous videos, we have seen the manage tab that was there for continuous feedback. This permission grants you access to that manage tab for continuous feedback. When I click on edit for this custom role, you'll notice there are yes and no. Only two options are available. If you say no, that will mean the user will not be able to access or manage the continuous feedback settings. If you set that up to yes, then the user will have ability to manage continuous feedback configurations. Moving on, then you've got give feedback, view feedback, right? So you'll notice for give feedback, there are a bunch of different variations even on the screen. So it says for super admin, for any user, for admin, it says for any user when creator, for user, it says for any user and when creator. So this determines within your team or within your organization who should be able to give feedback to whom. Meaning, let's say in your organization, if you want only the managers to be able to give feedback to their direct reports, then you can set that permission to be. Right now it is set to for any user. What you can do is you can say for direct reports. And if you want the entire chain to be able to receive feedback from higher ups, then even say for indirect reports. And if you want the team leads to be able to give feedback to their team members, you can check this box. So you'll notice this has full control over who should be able to give feedback to whom. You can use any permutations, combinations based on what your cultural needs are. And once you switch this off to no, then that essentially means user with that specific role won't be able to give feedback to anyone. Right? Moving on, you've got view feedback here as well. Let's look at the available options. Under yes, again, you've got a few options. The one that says always, that essentially means any feedback that is there in the system will be visible to users with this permission. If you set it to when creator, when shared, then that will mean obviously the feedback they have created will be visible to them, as well as the feedback that is explicitly shared with them. If you want your managers to be able to view the feedback their direct reports have received, irrespective of whether the feedback was shared with the manager or not, you can go ahead and check the third option. Similarly, you can also do the same for the indirect managers. Moving on, you've got edit feedback. Again, there are constraints as to who can edit a feedback that was created in the system. When you click on edit, you'll see a bunch of different options. If you set it to no, then that essentially means the user with that permission will not be able to edit feedback in any case. However, under yes, there are these multiple options. If you set it to always, then that means that user will be able to edit any feedback that is created in the system that is visible to them. Then when creator, when shared, again, as I explained earlier, when creator means any feedback that I have created, that the logged in user has created, they will be able to edit it. Moving on, edit feedback visibility. Now, deliberately, you have a separate permission for editing feedback visibility. Edit feedback is separate, edit feedback visibility is separate. That ensures that people are not able to abuse the feedback visibility options. Let us again look at the availabilities. So you've got yes and no. Obviously, when you set it to no, that means the user with this role, with this permission, won't be able to edit the feedback visibility at all. However, under yes, again, there are multiple options. If you set it to always, then that will mean that user has the ability to modify feedback visibility at any point in time. When creator, when shared, when direct manager, when indirect manager, when receiver, all of that covers different use cases that you may want to address. Similarly, you've got delete feedback, which feedback you should be able to delete. By default, it's always when creator, but again, you can make it possible to delete feedback depending on what your involvement is in that feedback exchange. Then you've got permissions related to feedback requests. Who should be able to request feedback from whom? Who should be able to view feedback requests, and who should be able to delete feedback requests. Now let's look at the permission options one by one. First, for request feedback. So here I should be able to request feedback for any user, for self, for direct reports, for indirect reports, for team members, right? So again, this gives you complete flexibility over what your organization needs. Scrolling down, you've got view feedback requests. If you set it to always, then that will mean the logged in user will be able to see any feedback request that is there in the system, irrespective of whether it was for them or by them. And then finally, delete feedback requests. You've got the same set of options in here, always and when creator. When creator obviously means you will be able to delete the feedback requests only if you have created them. And always will mean any feedback requests that are there in the system, you will be able to delete those. Hope that was helpful. Thank you.